This episode of On the Limb with Nature's Voice Game Calls is brought to you by Top Down Construction, a local construction company located in Hurricane, West Virginia. A veteran-owned and operated construction company ready to tackle any project. With over 25 years of experience in the industry, they offer a wealth of knowledge from design to completion. Contact them today at 304-415-2203 and let them make your dream a reality. You can also check them out on their Facebook page or call them today at 304-415-2203. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of On the Limb with Nature's Voice Game Calls. Tonight, I've got co-host Dave Young here with me, and I've got Curtis Goettsch of Victory Outdoors. And Curtis, I probably said your last name wrong. I'm sorry if I did. How you doing, brother?
Good. How are you? Yeah, you were close on the name, real close.
So. Yeah, we were just talking about that before we come on. You're like, yeah, I've known this guy for like 25 years, and he's like, yeah, he gets it right most of the time, but sometimes he messes up.
It's Catch with the G.
Yeah, it's Catch with a G. Goettsch.
Goettsch. Curtis Goettsch.
It's hard because you see the O, and everybody wants to say, they want to pronounce that O, and that's what throws everybody off.
Yeah. So what is that, like German? What?
Yeah. So yeah.
That's really bad because I'm German too. I mean, I got German in my blood.
So yeah, well, I got a lot. I mean, okay, so we'll just get in right into this since we're talking about names. My first name is not Curtis.
Oh, geez.
So my first name is Hans.
Oh.
Yeah. So My name is Hans Curtis Goettsch. And so like I'm the seventh Hans Goettsch, firstborn male of each family is named Hans. And then, the middle name might be different. So I'm not a junior or anything like that. But it's just a family tradition. So but my family's always called me Kurt or Curtis. And so if somebody calls me by, my first name, either their family and they're messing with me, or it's somebody who just is close enough to me that knows me that well and is like, is trying to get my attention and maybe didn't get my attention the first time when they yelled Kurt. So they just yell Hans because they know that more than likely I hear that name and I know somebody's talking to me. So, but yeah, it was my dad's name, my grandpa's name, my great grandpa's name. So, go and so on back. But what happened was it was, it was a little later in life that I realized that my first name was Hans because everybody called me Kurt. So, I was always, just gone by that. But so when you talk about being a German name, I mean, when you see that, then people automatically are like, so German? Yeah. So I think the O would have actually probably had an umlaut above it, and there probably would have been an E on the end. And when the family came over from Germany, generations ago, they dropped the E and they dropped the umlaut. So
yeah. When my family came over, we were actually Jung in Germany. So then we came over here and it was Young.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
Interesting little thing.
I wouldn't have thought of that either. I've been told.
I know some Youngs that spell it with that J. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been told that we added the E to the Booth just to non-associate ourselves with John Wilkes Booth. Because there is not very many people with the last name Booth that has an E. You can't find very many Booths like that. Most of them's just Booth, and ours actually has the E. So some people say Boothie.
That's what I call you.
Yep. So, Curtis, tell us a little bit about, we had Ian on, a couple weeks ago, and he was telling us a little bit about Victory Outdoors. You're the president, owner of Victory Outdoors, have been now for about 12 years, 10 or 12 years. And you guys put out some really high quality content. And, I knew you back when you all had first started Victory Outdoors, and you all have came a really long way since then. And it's just been going really well. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So it started out as a personal blog page for me. I had actually started, I had worked with some other TV shows, and those had kind of gone by the wayside. And I'd written for some magazines and stuff like that. Some local magazines and some newspapers and stuff like in those kinds of publications. And then I started writing for some bigger publications, which, like the North American Hunting Club had a North American Hunter was the magazine. So I wrote some articles for them on turkey hunting and deer hunting and that kind of thing. And so then that led to getting to know Thomas Allen, who was an outdoor writer, and he had his own blog where he had other associate bloggers that would kind of come on and kind of help him out. And so it gave me an outlet to do that. The TV stuff had died down. And so about I think I'd done it for about a year. And he decided to go actually to work for a large publishing company. And he was like, well, I'm going to shut this down. And I was like, okay. So he suggested that, well, he actually offered me to buy his blog site. But then he said, but better yet, maybe you should just come up with your own thing, and just launch your own blog site.
Oh, wow.
And he goes, I'll teach you how, as far as the back end, building everything on the website, as far as like in WordPress and all that kind of stuff, because most blogs are set up on WordPress. And so that's what ended up happening. He kind of walked me through the process, and I came up with a name, which was Victory Outdoors. And the actual LLC name is Victory Outdoor Media. And so originally it started out as that. And it grew into basically Victory Outdoors. And so, I think I started it in 2012. It was a blog site, but by 2014, we were basically doing short digital episodes that we were putting on our YouTube page. And that was mostly because that's the kind of content that people were craving. It's what our partners were craving. They wanted to see us producing video.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what we started to gravitate towards. And basically by probably 2015, so probably just a year later, we were really starting to scale back on the blog stuff, and we're starting to kind of shift gears into full blown, basically full blown episodes. We had gotten on Carbon TV by that time. And so Carbon TV is a free app that people can watch a bunch of, hunting content and fishing content for that matter. And what ended up happening was that kind of just kind of kicked us off. We started, starting to generate a following slowly, but I was doing all the editing, and I was editing the shows and all that kind of stuff. And it was really kind of, we were actually a semi-live show. So what we were doing is we were
awesome.
The hunt would happen, and I would get home from a hunting trip, or I would get home from, or one of the guys would get home from a hunting trip. They'd give me the footage, and I'd slap together the episode. And I say that because, from the days from when I was doing it to what we're doing now, and what Ian does as the producer, the executive producer, and all the editing and stuff that he does at that high level, is just, incredible, about where we're at. I mean, and I'm perfectly comfortable with, I turned that over to him as soon as he came on board with us in 2017. I had taken a new position as in my day job, that moved me down to Southern Iowa, and I happened to land in his hometown. And at that time, he didn't live there. But because I moved there in 15, and then he ended up moving back in 17. And so, basically I just talked to him, and said, hey, if you're looking to, kind of do this kind of thing, locally with some of these guys that I've got, is it something you'd be interested in? And so he said, yeah, but, he was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to crank these out, next week type of thing. Because with his day job and everything that he does, and that kind of thing. It was just, he's like, I don't think I can do it at the quality and the level I want to do it at. So in 2017, we made a transition to become, like a more traditional TV show where we would film everything, and then, not quite, but 8 months to 10 months later, then we would air those episodes kind of in lead up to that next season. So kind
Yeah.
of the way we're set up now is our turkey season and that kind of stuff will air, and we kind of name that series. So it's Victory Outdoors Just Turkey. And so we air that usually beginning in January sometime, and we usually end that in like early April. So we'll have usually between 8 to 10 episodes in the spring. Those episodes usually run about 8 to 12 minutes. They're digital only episodes. And so we kind of did that. Then with our fall episodes, which is really centered around whitetail deer hunting in Iowa, that's really what I would say 90% of our fall content is. We put those episodes together, and up until this year, they were probably, I would say, 12 to 16 minutes long. Some of them were a little longer than that, but most of them were right in that 12-minute range to 15-minute range. And it's kind of where we wanted to be. We didn't want to be really long. We didn't want to be really short. We wanted to tell a story. And so something that's a little different about the way we do that, especially those fall ones. The turkey ones are a little bit different, but the fall ones, it's like we're trying to show the journey of each of those hunters. So we've got a team of 12, including myself. And really, we're trying to capture that entire pursuit of the whitetail deer or whatever that episode entails. So obviously, Ian and I, we earlier this year, we went out to Wyoming on an antelope hunt with my next door neighbor and my father-in-law. And so that'll be a little bit different than our whitetail stuff. But our whitetail stuff is usually like, okay, what goes into a hunt? Like we've got, some guys do a lot of food plots. Some guys do a lot of trail cam, stuff. Some guys do, combinations of both. Some guys do a lot of shed hunting. They spend, days, and hours on end, looking for sheds every winter. And some guys, they do all those things that really are centered around that, full year obsession with, hunting whitetails in Iowa. And so that's really kind of the what we're doing. And so while I'm the owner and that kind of stuff, there's no host. Like we don't like each episode, they have their own individual host, and it's that hunter. So there's a spine set up. We have a very consistent flow as far as like Ian, as far as the creative side of it, like he wants, brandability wise, like we want people to flip on that episode and know before they kind of see a graphic or something and know that, oh, I'm watching Victory Outdoors. And so we tailor all of our, what we call spines, but basically like the interview with the hunter telling their story, not in the field, but sitting, on like a set, like a studio set, like that's all set up, premeditated. It's all supposed to be the same color, all that kind of stuff, trying to basically, pull together that branding. So it's like there's a ton of stuff that we weren't doing, when we first started, that, having Ian involved and be able to do all those things and do it at a high level has kind of launched us, into where we're at now. And so this last year, the big thing that we did is we made the jump to be on the Pursuit channel. And so we aired this year on the Pursuit channel. We went to a linear format. So we have 4 segments with 3 commercial breaks, which ends up being altogether different for Ian when he's editing these. And it's a little bit different for the guys, because it's like, okay, we've got to fill these segments up, and now the episodes end up being, 21 minutes and 30 seconds. like every one of them has to conform to that, and they have to have these commercial breaks, and we have to try to, do that. So that's a whole different challenge in itself.
Oh yeah.
And that's something that, Ian was accustomed to doing it because he's done that for years. With other shows, he's produced other TV shows, and that kind of stuff. So it wasn't something really new for him necessarily. But it was something different from what we had done in the past. And there were some challenges that we definitely came into with that. But we aired for 26, or we are in the process of airing for 26 weeks in third and fourth quarter, so half the year. And so far it's been great. But the idea is that everybody on the team, the only thing I ask of them is, like, you can't control whether or not you're going to get that kill on film or anything like that, but just, try to grow, try to improve at what you do. Even if it's just a little bit, and so most of the guys have done really good with that. And, they understand that, we're all at varying levels. We all do things, some of us do this better, some of us do that better. But it's been a blast. I mean, to see it kind of go from basically nothing to where it's at now has just kind of it's been fun. I've been blessed to have a really, really good group of guys around me that, I mean, there wouldn't be that many episodes if it was just me, me and Ian doing it. So yeah, having those guys and watching them, like Ty Green and his son, Garrett Green, I mean, there's episodes out there that I edited years ago where, or I even filmed, Garrett on a youth turkey hunt, and he's, he was, I don't know, probably 12 or 13 years old when we first, when I first met him. And now, I was just at his wedding this past year, and he's had, him and his wife just had a baby, and
Wow,
and
that's cool.
watching him grow up, and continue on with Victory Outdoors and do that kind of stuff. And then one of his good friends, or two of his good friends from high school, Talon and Drexel, they're on the team. Talon, I don't know if it was his first bow kill, but one of his first bow kills was on one of our episodes where Garrett filmed him, and they were high school kids, just out before school filming, their deer hunts. And then, Drexel, like last night, he filmed his girlfriend kill her first ever deer with a bow. Killed a nice doe, and
Nice.
so I got a snap, from Snapchat. I got a nice snap of the footage, and I was like, man, she made a great shot. And then, of course, he took some good, he took some good pictures. So that's one of the cool things, is that Ian is able to, not only does he have those skills, but he's also able to kind of, coach us up, right? Like, I mean, hey, he gives me just as much, constructive criticism. He'll give me criticism. Like, yeah, hey, you should have really done this, or hey, next time remember this or that. I'm pretty good with like different, I'm pretty good with visualizing it. Like, as an editor, if you've ever edited video, when you're behind the camera, you think about things differently. You think about things as an editor, like, how is this going to fit together?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, I mean, those are things that are really fun for me. But then to see, like, some of the younger guys learn that stuff and then apply it, and then all of a sudden, like, you have this fantastic episode that Ian puts together, and those guys have a lot of pride in that. They see, oh man, did a great job, Ian, and they're all excited about that. And it's like, well, if Ian doesn't have the footage to make it look great, then it isn't a great episode. So it takes everybody working towards that goal.
So you guys were some of the forefront there on Carbon TV when they first started, right?
Yeah. We've been on, I think we're in our 12th season with Carbon. I think we're in our 12th season on Carbon.
Wow,
so,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you guys got any awards from them or anything like that through the years?
Yeah. So they've had the Carbon Awards for the last 3 years, and we've won at least one Carbon Award every year. So yeah,
Awesome.
we won the best. They don't even have this award anymore, I think, because they felt like they're going to have to rename it, because for 2 years in a row we won the best rope-a-dope award, which was like basically like it looks like you're going to fail, but then you pull it out and you end up being successful in the end. And so I don't even remember what the first episode that won that was, but yeah, we won that 2 years in a row, and then last year we won the best small game, which was a turkey hunt that that Jake Reed filmed. I think. I don't know. He had two turkey episodes that were archery kills, and so he's a big bow hunter. He doesn't shoot them with a shotgun and that kind of stuff, and so he ended up in two separate hunts, killed two separate birds, and so that was two different episodes. And one that he called Snapchat turkeys is what we ended up naming it. Was he was he was snapping us as everything was happening, and so that ended up winning their best small game. And we were up against actually some really, like I was a little worried that we weren't going to be able to pull it out this year. We were up against some pretty high end shows in that category. So for us to actually, that's all on our fans, because it's all a voting, like a daily, like fans can vote once a day.
Yeah.
And so that's all about two things really. How willing are our viewers to go vote for us daily, right? And then how well do we connect, through social media and our other channels to be able to tell them to go out and vote for us.
Yeah, definitely.
So what's that reach like? And so that's really where I think that award comes in. Yes, we're producing good content and that kind of stuff. That's why we even get nominated, because we don't have a control over that. Like they have a group there at Carbon TV that basically kind of throughout the year looks for unique episodes that they want to feature as a they want to grab onto and say, okay, this is going to be a contender for a potential nomination for an award category, right? And so they limit the size of the category. So I think you're usually up against 3 other shows. So I think there's 4 nominations in each. There's either 4 or 5, don't remember exactly. And so they pick those, and so just to get nominated is cool. And then, we were only nominated for that one category. And so it was like, ooh, like in previous years, we had been nominated in multiple categories. So we were a little worried. I was like, man, there's some stiff competition there. We're going to have to really, push to get this across the finish line. And fortunately, our viewers and family members and friends and all that kind of stuff, whoever we could get to vote for us, we were asking, and we were able to get that across the finish line and win, and take home another Carbon Award. So
Yeah, I was looking on there, and you've got a really high carbon score, compared to some of the shows.
yeah.
I assume that's what that's from, is some of the voting.
So so that comes from like individual like folks that are on the Carbon platform can basically rank you. So I think we're maybe 8, somewhere in the 8s.
Yes.
And so I think it's out of 10. So that's kind of how that works.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
man, I was looking at your cover page on there, man. There's a massive non-typical that looks like a young guy killed.
Yeah, it's Talon. That's from a couple years ago. Talon killed that deer. They called him home fry. I don't know why they called him home fry, but he had that crazy flyer coming off his back of his antlers, and he was he was just a freak. And I think Ty and Garrett were kind of chasing him, and he ended up kind of starting to show up on other farms as the rut kind of kicked in, and he was starting to kind of travel a little bit more. And so I think it was like one of the last days of the bow season in Iowa before. So it was late November before the gun season was going to start. And if he if Talon, I mean, Ty said it, like if Talon doesn't get him killed, uh, Ty had a gun tag for the first shotgun season, and he was going to go out and try to get him with a gun. So as it worked out, Garrett, Ty's son, Garrett was running the camera as that deer walked right in front of Talon, and Talon made a great shot. He didn't. I mean, it was one of those things like you see it. It's one of those things. I won't give it away too much, but when you see the shot happen on film, it was a successful hunt. Like you immediately see the clip and you're like, oh, okay, then that deer is not going anywhere. So
that's awesome.
So yeah, he runs out of frame, and then they went and got him right away because they pretty much saw him fall in the field. So
right,
yeah, it was a fun episode.
Nice. So you guys are on Pursuit. You guys are on Carbon TV, My Outdoor TV, Hunt Channel, YouTube, Mossy Oak Go. That's a new. How long has that one been out? I haven't heard of Mossy Oak Go.
So Mossy Oak Go launched, I want to say in 2016 or 2017, I think. It was probably 2017 or 18, actually. Yeah. And
yeah.
So for a long time, I've been on the Mossy Oak Pro staff. So actually before I even launched, 2010 is when I got on the Mossy Oak Pro staff, and it was prior to me even launching Victory Outdoors. And so I had kind of an established relationship there with them. And they'd come on board kind of as a presenting sponsor at one time for Victory Outdoors. And we've still kind of had a relationship there. And then when they launched Mossy Oak Go, we were one of the only original. So Mossy Oak Productions makes a ton of their own stuff, right? Like they produce a ton of TV shows and a ton of content on their own through Mossy Oak Productions. And so they have a bunch of their own stuff on it, and they have like literally years worth of catalogs worth of that stuff there. So we were like one of like just a handful of independently produced shows that were on there. And so we came out with that and then slowly grew. So, I mean, now like, Drury's obviously, Mark and Terry Drury have had a relationship with Mossy Oak forever. Now they're on there as well, but we were actually on there before they were.
Oh, wow.
Just because, and I'm sure it was, I'm sure it was one of those things like, yeah, sure, go ahead and put it on there. And they were probably like, yeah, so what are you going to pay us? So, I mean, they might have had a few more bargaining chips than we did, but at that point in time, for sure. And so that's kind of how that went. Like we're not, our new stuff isn't currently going on there right now on Mossy Oak Go, but like we've probably got 5 or 6 seasons there. Our newest stuff is going on Carbon TV, on Waypoint and Pursuit Channel, as well as like the Hunt Channel, well, I mean, we throw it on YouTube as well. So if people are really into YouTube and that kind of stuff, we still have an active channel on that, and we throw all of our digital episodes there as well. Because I mean, that's where we started. We still have, a good, number of subscribers there that still, that's where they choose to watch their hunting, stuff. And it's funny because I'll see from time to time, people will ask, they'll throw something out there, of course, those questions that are on social media, and people randomly ask like, hey, where do you like to get your outdoor programming from? And overwhelmingly it's, yes, there's a bunch of other ones that are, Carbon TV, Waypoint, all these other different things, different shows, whether they're, what we call linear format. So cable, satellite, regular linear TV. They'll have all those channels listed, but then all the digital ones, like the overwhelming favorite still is YouTube.
Wow,
still
that's crazy.
A ton of people still go to YouTube to get that hunting fix. And I think it's probably just because, they can search stuff. And I can remember that was my first, even I can remember just sitting there and plugging in a laptop to a TV. back before really we had
Yep.
smart TVs, and
Oh,
plug in
yeah.
a laptop and just put it on YouTube and just sit there and just watch, binge watch like a whole season of, whatever, whether it was something on Mossy Oak or something that, if I wanted to watch turkey, it's like, middle of the day and I want to chill out and watch some turkey hunting, and just throw it on and watch. So,
Yeah. So you recently, you and Ian both recently bagged some nice antelope.
yeah.
Was that a hunt you all did together, or was it separate?
No, it was a hunt we did together. We went, so we all drew. So my neighbor, next door neighbor, Jim Holloway, he is gone like 3 or 4 years in a row. And now, not always was he hunting antelope. He's hunted some mule deer and that kind of stuff. But he's like, yeah, you got to go. He's like, it's easy. He's like, we'll have your antelope dead by the second day. As long as you're not too picky, is what he said. And we're like, okay. So, we all bought preference points the year before, and I'd actually been buying preference points for a few years, so I had a few extra. And so we applied as a group, and we got, we all drew our tags, and so we knew we were going. It's kind of something we planned like a year in advance, because with me and my schedule and that kind of stuff, and with the kids and their schedules and everything, it's like I've got to like lay stuff out like well in advance. So it's 8
Oh, yeah,
months.
definitely.
It's like 8 months to a year in advance, sometimes even longer than that. So yeah, we
Yeah.
we ended up we had that all set up, and so once we had drawn our tags, we all met and got a plan put together on the dates, set those in stone. And so we went out there for a week. So we drove out on a Monday, got out there Monday evening and Monday afternoon. And by Monday at 6, my father-in-law had shot his antelope. And we're like, sweet, got one down. So then we spent the next day hunting, and Ian right out, I'm going to give away some stuff here, but Ian right out the gate misses at like 200
Oh,
yards.
no.
Yeah. And so he misses at like 200 yards, and it wasn't the world's easiest shot. I'll give him that. Like I can't really just put it on him. It was a difficult shot. So, and I was right there next to him because I was running the camera, and so he missed and was like, okay, no big deal. It's a clean miss, and antelope ran off. And so we we made a stock where I was the hunter on the next group of antelope, and if we came over the top of the hill expecting them to be like at 100, 200 yards at the most, and they're like 600 yards
Mhm.
away, and I'm like, wow, they covered some ground. And I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't spook them, but by the time we got to where they were, I didn't think it took that long, but apparently we thought they were going to just kind of mill around there around this watering hole, and we were going to come from behind the hill and basically come over the top, and we did. But there was a few antelope that were close, but most of them had all moved about 600 yards away, and so that didn't work out. And so basically we got skunked that second day, which was not a terrible thing. But then by 10, I think by 10:30 the next day, me and Ian both had our antelope down, and then that afternoon, which Jim had said he didn't want to shoot one until everybody else had shot one because he had already shot a couple. So then that afternoon, we were driving down the road and in the middle of public, because it was all public. This wasn't like this wasn't a guided hunt or anything like that. This was 100% public access. So like we stayed in a motel.
Oh, really?
Like, door on the outside with a bunch of construction workers that were using it. I guess they weren't construction workers, but they were oil industry guys, because there's a lot of oil fields out there. So they're oil field guys that were staying there. But anyway, I mean, we were staying, it was an okay place. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't like a 5-star hotel by any means. And so,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and then we're just hunting public. So we're on our Hunt Stand app, and we're like looking at the public, and we're just driving down the road, and we're like, okay, we're coming up to a chunk of public. And so it's like, okay, look and see if you see antelope.
Oh,
And
really?
so you basically drive around to these spots that are public, and then you see if you see antelope. And if you do, you got to figure out a plan on how you're going to get to them. Like how, where do you got to hike in order to get in a position where you can actually take a shot. And so that's about how every one of them, turned out. Like, I mean, you had to, okay, we're going to have to drive down the road a half mile to get behind this hill so that we can get out. They won't see us, because if they see you, they're gone. So, and obviously with rifles, it makes it a little easier. I had hunted antelope in the past with archery equipment in Nebraska unsuccessfully. It was still fun, but it's a different challenge. And so, having a rifle is a little easier have a little higher success rate. And so, yeah, we went out there and it was a blast. We all got our antelope. And what was really cool, and this is something that I wasn't really used to being from the Midwest, you take your deer into the locker and you aren't getting that thing back for like probably 4 weeks at the fastest, maybe 8 weeks.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding.
Yeah. So, because I mean, there's just so many deer that are killed, in Iowa, and there's not that many lockers that really will take deer. I mean, there are, but it's kind of like you got your like ones that are really, really good, and then you got the ones that are like, eh. So what we ended up, doing is we went to this locker, and I'm not kidding you, we dropped, like, me, Ian, and Jim dropped off our antelope on Wednesday, and they had them ready for us Thursday afternoon, like at 2. We picked up everything.
Wow.
And they had already put it in the freezer. So they got it all done Wednesday. They put it in the freezer overnight so that it would firm up and be basically frozen. Plus took our heads.
Yeah.
Froze those for us. So then we were able to put them in our Mammoth cooler, which is like similar to like a Yeti. And we were able to put it in the cooler and throw some dry ice on there. And it was like, man, that stuff was still frozen when we got back to Iowa. So we didn't leave. We left at like 5 a.m. Friday. So, Friday was just a straight, but Thursday we were tagged out. So Thursday we just rode around and did some sightseeing, shot some prairie dogs, and just kind of had fun. Just had a fun day of it, waiting for our, call from the locker that our, that our antelope was done. So,
yeah. Wow, that's crazy. I would not have pictured the trip to be like that. I would have pictured something totally different, but that's pretty cool how that went. Well, one of the things that we like to do on our podcast is a scripture of the day, and I believe Dave has that ready to go.
Sure do, Mike. Let's see. So it's going to be out of 1 John chapter 1 and verse 5. And, of course, I'm reading out of the Passion Translation. This is the life-giving message we heard him share, and it's still ringing in our ears. We now repeat his words to you. God is pure light. You will never find even a trace of darkness in him. And, especially nowadays, it seems like everyone wants to blame things that go wrong, on God. Well, God let that happen, or God did that to that person, whatever. But I think one thing that you have to understand is if it's something dark, if it's something negative, if it's something that doesn't bring love or bring light or bring something positive to a situation, it ain't God. There's another force operating in this world. And, these forces you can't see. But one thing you should know, and that is, if it's darkness, it ain't God.
Yeah, definitely. And, our pastor always says, Dave, that God leads by peace. And, if it's definitely not led in peace, or you don't have peace about it, and you've got any kind of fear, then you obviously know that that's coming from the adversary.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for that, Dave. Appreciate it, brother. So, Curtis, going back into that antelope hunt, you're talking about them things being a little elusive. Every show that I've watched, they seem like once they see you, they're just like, they're gone.
Yeah. So, well, I'll give mine. So that's what Jim expected to happen in a lot of scenarios. But really, what was interesting was, I got really lucky, and sometimes, I will definitely rather be lucky than good, especially when it comes to hunting. And we're driving down the road and it's a 2-track type road, right? It's not like a highway or anything. And we're in the middle, like dead center in the middle of this public grassland area. And we come up over the top of the hill, and we had just seen an antelope like probably 400 or 500 yards away, and we stopped on that road to take a look at him. And I mean, that antelope was gone. Like as soon as we stopped the truck, it was like, nope, I'm out of here. And you could tell it was an older, it was an older antelope. Like it knew the game. It was like, nope, not today, boys. And he was gone.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, okay, so he went around this corner. He might have stopped. Let's pull up here and let's get out and we'll crest the top of this hill. We might be able to locate him and get a shot on him. So we start driving up this hill, and all of a sudden we pop over the hill, and there's an antelope bedded on the side of the road just chilling. And
oh, wow.
And like Jim stops, and I'm like, dude, back up. And he's like, what? I'm like, just back down this road. So he throws it in reverse and he backs back down the road and gets back behind the hill. And he's like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I'm going to get out and walk up this road and shoot that antelope. And he's like, there's no way this is going to work. And he's basically essentially our guide because he's been out there and done it before. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
we're going to try it. So, we bail out of the truck, and Ian grabs the camera and I grab my gun and my shooting sticks, and we start sneaking up the road, and we get to this antelope, and he's bedded, and he's not looking towards us when we first see him. And Ian kind of pops out on the road to my left. And so like, I'm basically now the antelope's looking at us, but he's still bedded. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know. Like I'm looking at him through the scope, and I'm like, do I shoot him?
Yeah.
Do I take that shot while he's bedded? But the thing is I'm below him. And so I really don't have a good shot at his vitals because the way he's sitting, I'm almost got to shoot like in the dirt to really hit his vitals at the angle I'm at. So I'm like, I don't think I can shoot him. I'm like, I don't think I can ethically shoot him while he's bedded. I was like, if I was elevated above him, I could easily take that shot. But I was like, I don't think I can make that happen. So I'm just waiting there for him to stand up, and I'm wondering, my heart's pounding because I'm like, is he going to bolt? Like, this is my first, rifle antelope hunt, and I've never really been that close to an antelope bedded anyway. So I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if he's just going to stand up and stare at me like, oh, sometimes whitetails do. Like, what's that? And walk towards you. Like I've had whitetails, like you crouch down in a soybean field and they see you and they just start walking towards you. So
yeah, they're like, oh, who are you?
Yeah, what's that? They don't usually do that during hunting season, but they, they'll do that like in the middle of summer or something.
Yeah.
So anyway, he stands up, and I'm like, heart's pounding. I'm pumped up, and I'm trying to get a shot on him, and I just slap the trigger, like completely miss. Shoot. He takes off, runs about 50 yards and stops and turns, and he's standing there broadside. And then I make a good shot on him at probably about 80 yards. So I just rushed the shot, just kind of yanked it and that kind of stuff. It's funny because like we had these rifles that my father-in-law like built all the ammunition for him. And, it's the rifle I've used on several other hunts and that kind of stuff. Down in Texas, we went on a Catalina goat hunt, and it's like I've used this gun and other people have used this gun of mine, to hunt with. And we've got it down to a science, like the loads that we built for this thing. Like I was practicing at like 550 yards just at the practice range. And my father-in-law's gun, we were shooting it and hitting a 12 by 12 plate at 770. And, it's just like incredible. Like, it's like we're not going to ever take a shot on an animal that far away. But the fact that we were like even able to hit, metal that way, it was awesome. So anyway, we ended up, I made a great shot on that second follow-up shot, slammed him, and that was it. But yeah, you talk about, I guess getting kind of lucky. Not only did I get lucky that he just didn't bolt as soon as he saw us, but got lucky that he gave me an opportunity for a second shot.
That's good for people to hear, because even on because it doesn't sound like, by the strategy that you all were hunting, it doesn't sound like it was too uh, intense or anything like that. But when you get like stalking, from different vantage points out in a field or the woods or whatever. But it's awesome for people to hear that, because even at that close of a shot, the adrenaline that you have running through you still gets to you, man. That's what I love about hunting.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Like, I mean, I think sometimes people get lost in the idea, especially people who have shows and that kind of stuff. They think like, this is all I do. And it's like, no, this is my side hustle. I very clearly
Yeah.
have a regular job like anybody else that I go to every
Yep.
day. And,
Mm-hmm.
and when I'm going to do these things, I'm going to take this trip, I took off, a week of work, um, and I'm fortunate enough to have a job where I have the ability to occasionally be able to do that. And I have some paid, vacation time and that kind of stuff. But the bottom line is that, it's, I'm all of the guys at Victory Outdoors are a lot more probably like all of your hunting buddies that, more so than we are, on a TV show, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, we're guys that hunt on a TV show, but it's because we choose to do that because we want to capture those hunts to share with our friends and family. And then, of course, the
Mm-hmm.
viewers. But, I love the fact that my daughter, Natalie, who's 11 now, the fact that all of her hunts up to this point have all been on film, edited by Ian Sparks, and they're forever captured. Those memories are forever captured, and we can pop in, or we can throw on Carbon TV or whatever the case may be, and pull up her episodes and watch those and relive those moments and that kind of stuff. That's what it's about for me and most of the guys at Victory Outdoors. Like, we're preserving those
Yeah.
moments in video format, so that we can relive them at a later date. And if somebody else gets some enjoyment or education out of it or something along those lines, like, hey, this is how we do it. It doesn't mean it's always 100% the right way to do it, but this is what we're doing when it comes to whitetail hunting in Iowa. This is how we,
Yeah.
this is what we do for food plots. This is what we do for, trail cam strategies. This is what we do for whatever. If somebody can, garner something from that, like, oh, here's a mistake. Don't do this. Whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
that's our kind of goal there. Is like, we want to be entertaining, but, we want to be educational, but really at the heart of it, we're doing it to capture those moments forever, and then, have them put into something that's tasteful, and that, down the, for generations, we'll be able to watch that.
Yeah, and it gives the beginning hunter or somebody that's wanting to get into hunting, a baseline to start from. They got your all's experiences that they can watch,
Mm-hmm.
and that gives them something that they can start their own hunting journey on, and it's awesome. One of the other things that we like to do during our show is we like to do a salute to service. So today our salute to service is going out in honor of Carrie Goettsch, and that is your wife, Curtis, of course. She was a crew chief mechanic for F-16s in the United States Air Force, and she was based out of Luke Air Force Base. Her dad also done the same thing in the military, so she followed in daddy's footsteps there. But Carrie, we just like to thank you for your service to our great country. And if it wasn't for people like you, we couldn't do the things that we do today and enjoy the luxuries that we have and freedoms. So God bless you, and we thank you for your service, ma'am.
Yes, thank you.
Well, Curtis,
I appreciate that, and appreciate, I when I listen to your guys' podcast, I've listened to a couple of episodes now, and I always just think that's pretty neat that you guys do the scripture, and then you also do the salute to service, and man, I mean, it's amazing the freedoms that we have in this country, and
yes.
whenever anybody is feeling down, you know, we get to wake up and do whatever we want to do in this country. And in a lot of places in the world, people don't get to do that. So no matter how bad it is and how down you are, we get to get up every day and pretty much have the freedom to do whatever we want to do. And without any kind of repercussions, as long as it's legal, right? So,
yeah.
Yep.
Well, Curtis, we appreciate your time this evening. We appreciate you coming on and telling us the history behind Victory Outdoors, and just letting us be a part of your kind of behind the scenes thing there as the owner of TV show, and how things are done, and just letting us be a part of your journey in the hunt. So we really appreciate your time, and we thank you, sir, for coming on.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, guys. So be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram. We're on every outlet that you can think of: Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcast. We'll be there. So thank you all for listening, and everybody, you have a great night. This episode of On the Limb with Nature's Voice Game Calls is brought to you by Backwater Truck Supply, located at 100 Armor Creek Road in Nitro, West Virginia, right across from the Town and Country Supply. Contact them today at 304-610-8699 or check them out at backwatertrucksupply.westvirginia.com. Backwater Truck Supply specializes in accessorying your ride to your liking, new or old. Does your Jeep or truck need lifted or leveling kit installed? They've got you covered. New tires or minor automotive repairs? They got you covered there as well, with a full-service lift along with a wheel balancing machine. They are affiliates with some of the top brands in the automotive industry. Contact them today at 304-610-8699 or check them out at backwatertrucksupply.westvirginia.com.